I lied to everybody involved. I said James Ham was going to join us at the top of the 3 o'clock hour. James Ham said, "No, I'm not. I'm going to join you right now because we've got Kings basketball to talk about. We got a game tonight against some version of the Utah Jazz. We got 7 straight road wins. This team is approaching clinching a playoff spot, James. It's going to happen in a matter of days here at this point. But let's bring you right into the conversation we were having. Our 1320 Kings insider and creator of the Kings Beat, Mr. Ham. Do you believe the Sacramento Kings can get even better? And I'm going to preface that with this season during the playoffs, particularly, can this team be better on the defensive end?
Yeah, I mean, I think that what we're seeing is every game they are getting little bits better here and there. I don't think we're going to see a switch get flipped where all of a sudden they're an elite defensive team.
Mm-hmm.
But I think there's going to be a balance here between getting better and that inevitable moment where the team realizes that it's no longer an 82 game season that they're playing, that they now have, a 7 game series. And then if they make it out of that, they've got another 7 game series, at least 4 games. And so, every time you get 4 games in, that's 5% of your regular season. And then it's 10%, and all of a sudden it's 15%. And all of a sudden this team is facing, something that they haven't been through before, which is, potentially a 90 or a 95 game season or a 100 game season. And that's different. So I think we'll concentrate on like the small leaps and bounds that they can take, but at the same time, keeping in mind that this is a long, long season that these guys have not been through before. And so staying in the moment is one thing, but at a certain point, it becomes almost like the Keegan Murray thing, where we get to game 30 and all of a sudden he can't hit a shot anymore. And then he's okay like 3 games later, but you
Oh,
get to
no. Is
game
there a
60.
playoff wall?
I
Is there a
believe
playoff wall?
for a team that hasn't been there, I'm gonna guess that there is a playoff wall.
Oh, man.
Uh,
All these
damn
damn walls.
Walls, building walls. Well, the Kings have done a good job of just breaking through them. They are the Kool-Aid man of this season. They just go ahead and break right through all those walls, and you know
Break the walls down.
Yeah.
You know what that is.
Jericho style.
James, what do you see that makes you think that they can possibly be a little better on defense? I laid it out where I thought the addition of Kessler Edwards and putting him into the rotation and what he's able to do, just giving you, I don't know if balance is the word I'm looking for, but you got Davion who can guard the opposing team's point guard or shooting guard. Now you got a guy in Kessler Edwards who can go up against a 3 or 4 that may be playing well. And it just kind of balances out what they want to do on the defensive end a little bit better. Maybe in some situations coming off the bench, you got both of those guys out there for the second unit. I just think it gets them closer and closer to being able to do be more effective on the defensive end. Like, both, in your opinion, what do you see that makes you think they could be better on the defensive end?
Yeah, I think we saw it the last couple of games where Mike Brown started testing the lineup even before he lost Kevin Herter. He started testing the lineup with 3 players that are 6'8" playing together. And the switchability of Keegan Murray, Harrison Barnes, and Kessler Edwards together is spectacular. It's something that this team has been missing. And I know a lot of people kept saying, like, the trade deadline, one player can't change the defense. No, it can. It can. And one player can change. I mean, they can't make you into a top 10 defense, especially in the second half of a season. But one player certainly can impact everything. It not only does it, like when he's on the court, can you put him on, these long athletic 2s and 3s, which is spectacular. And Kessler has the ability to defend 2, 3, and 4. I think his versatility is really cool in that way. But when you have him defending, it's kind of like what we talked about, like that the Kings needed more Harrison Barnes. And if they found a better player, then it would push everyone down one notch, So if you can get a player that's better than, that's not as good as De'Aaron Fox or Domantas Sabonis, but it's better than Harrison Barnes, then now Harrison Barnes becomes more of a natural number 4. and that allows Kevin Herter or Malik Monk to become a natural 5. And you know what I'm saying? So if you have that same thing just in a 5-man lineup where all of a sudden Kessler Edwards is defending the most difficult player, then that means that everyone else is defending someone that's slightly easier than they were before. And that's a good thing for the Kings. I think that one player can make a difference. I think probably two would really make a difference for this team if you could get that one more shot blocking athletic guy that could play a little bit more 4 or 5. But overall, I think that Mike Brown tinkering has found something here, and I think the path to improvement this season specifically is by like trying to figure out ways to get Kessler going both on the offensive end, but also that way he can earn minutes to give you that boost on defense.
I think De'Aaron's playing really well defensively. He's really active. He was really aggressive against Washington. Obviously, we saw what Davion did. And it's amazing how they just all start to pick it up once one. Like Terrence was doing the same thing. Terrence is probably, he's thinking I've got an opportunity here. I had my pep talk with Delly. I'm feeling good. He's out there hitting shots and jumping passing lanes, and you can see it. Like you can see them being better defensively. It's just not it's not like the Detroit Pistons of old or the San Antonio Spurs, right? It's not what we associate it with. Like, this is a good defensive team. No, this might be a better defensive team than we're giving it credit for. It's just they score so many points. There's so many more possessions. They're going to be in it, because I had to double check myself. I was like, man, I feel like they played really well defensively in this game, and they gave up 118 points.
Well, I think at the end of the day, you look at the offensive rating, and again, they're the best offensive rating in the history of the NBA, 118.7, I believe it's at this point. You take the defensive rating, and right now they're around 25, 24, 25. They've been around there for the last couple of weeks. The only thing that really matters is net rating. It's the difference between those two, and the Kings have been a positive like 2.7 for most of the season, and that's where they still are. So whether they're scoring more, when they score more, their defense usually gives up more. All that matters is that you keep that separation, and they're like number 6 in the league in net rating, so as a positive, like they're a positive net rating. There are a lot of teams that are a negative net rating. And so, like, look, it doesn't matter. It reminds me of like the 0-2 Kings, where everyone talked about how they weren't a great defensive team. Didn't matter. They always outscored you. And that's just the way that this team is going to have to win. And they're going to have to find ways to buckle down in crunch time. But the way that their offense works and how efficient it is, especially inside the arc, sure, they have a bunch of really good 3-point shooters, but this team has led the league in 2-point field goal percentage the entire season. They're so good at scoring inside the arc that it's really tough to stop. They don't take a bunch of bad shots, and as long as they keep that up, as long as they're efficient, they're going to have a shot to go as far as they possibly can.
What did Will Z?
I think it was earlier? The highest 2-point percentage in the history of the NBA. Kings have the highest.
Yeah, that makes sense.
In the history of the NBA.
That is
like, how many more stats can we come up with for the Kings that are in the history of the NBA this year?
It's crazy. I was looking at stats the other day, and I stumbled upon like 2-point percentage stats. Who's like second on the Kings in 2-point percentage stats? Kevin Herter. He's like 20th in the NBA, shooting like 60% from 2. So like it's everyone. Like, this team has a way to get inside the key and to get you. And it's about being efficient. It's about, again, playing as a team. All of those pick and rolls or DHOs that we're seeing where, the 2-man game, it's Sabonis and you just name that player, whether it's Sabonis and Harrison Barnes or Sabonis and Herter or Sabonis and Monk. Yeah, Sabonis and Fox, like all of these different things, like you just keep adding them up. It's always Sabonis, but man, they can play a 2-man game with so many different looks. And in those 2-man games, just think how many times you've seen Sabonis finish at the rim. It's crazy. He's tough when he's rolling.
Why don't you guys think this team, and I think we get the We might know the answer to this one because it's the answer to a lot of it. Why do you think this team gets the recognition for being one of the great offenses we've ever seen in this game? Like, that's what they
Why
are.
don't they get the recognition?
That's what they are. And we've seen great defense or great offenses that don't do anything in the playoffs, but we still remember how great of an offense they were. This is one of the great offenses we've ever seen.
Mhm.
We've all been watching this game for a long time. They're doing things that we've never seen in this league before.
Mhm.
And I always think that gets kind of glossed over. Like, man, they're good on offense. No, they're historically
good.
one of the best we've ever seen. And this kind of gets glossed over a lot of the time.
Yeah, I'm not sure why. I think it's because everybody has just waited for it to end. Like, really, I think that's how this season goes,
That's
right?
fair. Yeah.
The entire year, like, everyone's been like, it's a great story. You know, that's it. That's a cute kid.
Cute.
Yeah. That's what
Yep.
it is. Everyone thinks, hey, this can't just keep going, or they can't keep up being this high up in the standings. And that's where, people keep wanting to say, well, how come you're limiting what they can be? I'm not limiting what anyone thinks, like how far this team can go at this point. I'm just going to tell everybody, stop worrying about that. Just watch it and enjoy every moment of it, because the ride here, it's the biggest unknown that I think we've ever seen in Sacramento for sure, but one of the biggest unknowns we've ever seen in the game. We're a team that is so historically bad becomes like really, really good out of nowhere, and you just don't know how to pin it. You don't know how they're going to react. You don't know how the game will change when the playoffs hit, because we just saw how it changed in the second half of the season after the post All-Star break, and they just sawed through everybody. They're 12-2, and they're just unstoppable. So we can't. I don't want to put limitations on this team anymore. But I want fans to just sit back and just take it in. Don't worry about that. If they lose in the first round, that's fine. There's a built-in excuse. They haven't been there before, and that's okay. If they don't lose in the first round, they make it to the second round, and they get beat by a more experienced team there, okay. If they don't lose, though, like just stop putting like a constraint on who and what you think they can be. Because I'll tell you, I said it so many times early in the season. I thought this team was between 6 and 10. If everything went right, they would be a 6 seed. If nothing went right, I still thought that they could be the 10 seed. I was wrong. Like, they're better than that. And, we can talk about, like, well, the third seed or the second seed usually wins 50 games or more. Well, all of a sudden they're going to win 50 games or more. And so that's the interesting thing. I think this whole time, everyone has been waiting for the house of cards to, like, tumble, and it hasn't. So just sit back and buy your playoff tickets, which you're probably gonna have to mortgage your house for. Max out like 2 credit cards, but just go and enjoy it. And when it's all done, when it's all done, like, celebrate the fact that this was one of the greatest rides that not just any Kings team, but really any team that's been this historically bad to this historically good in one season without, I mean, they made some changes, but not crazy changes.
Yeah, I mean, Domas was here. Obviously, this is his first full year. And then, the impact, Kevin Herter, who we all thought was good, would have, but the massive impact that Malik Monk has had for so many different reasons. You're listening to D-Lo and KC on KIFM West Sacramento, 98.5 FM KRX QHD2 Sacramento, ESPN 1320, always live on the free Odyssey app. And we will be live in person Wednesday, April 5th for the D-Lo and KC watch party at Field House American Sports Pub in Sacramento. You can come watch Sacramento take on Dallas that night. You could register for the event at ESPN1320.com. This is a completely free event. Registering just kind of gives us a feel for how many people may come through. So ESPN1320.com. More details there. You can register for the event there, but plan to come hang out with us. Watch the Kings take on Dallas April 5th for the D-Lo and KC watch party at Field House American Sports Pub. James, I'm going to bring something back that we were talking about on Friday out at Sky River Casino. And I bring it up because we saw it again at Kings bench. We saw them shorthanded with Kevin Herter out, Kessler Edwards into the starting lineup. Obviously, we're all raving about the way that he's playing. Malik Monk continues to just be on this run. It's the sixth man of the year noise isn't as loud as it was at the start of the season, but he's playing incredible. And then Terrence Davis, after a pep talk apparently with Matthew Dellavedova on the plane the night before, he had himself a nice little ball game. And again, James, it feels like this second unit, you said stop putting a cap on what this Kings team could be. Man, this second unit could take it to the NBA Finals.
It's huge. We had this moment that our friend Chris Biederman went and talked to Terrence Davis about, where Matthew Dellavedova sat down with him on the plane. Like, I think Matthew Dellavedova, like, there's a reason why he's still on this roster. And I know it's confusing for a lot of people. Even like my partner, Sean Cunningham over on the Kings beat, like, he was shocked when he made the team. I was shocked when he made the team, but Sean kept saying, like, well, I don't think this is going to be a long-term thing. We got past the deadline where his contract was guaranteed. And Delly's still there. And then you start to see why it is that certain players are still in Sacramento. And it's because they have the ability to impact a team, whether it's on the court or it's off the court. And pulling aside Terrence Davis and getting him right in the head, having him go out and just absolutely light up a team. That's what this season is about. It's about those little moments that actually matter, and getting a player right when you need to. And you know what that does is that if you have a bad game in the playoffs and things have gone wrong and you got like a 15-point deficit in the mid-second quarter and you don't know where you're going to turn because everything seems to be gummed up and nothing's working, you can turn to a guy like Terrence Davis. And he catches fire and can harness some of this stuff that he's got from a game like that, then he can be the difference in a game. And it might not be every game that you see him. He might not play a lot down the stretch, but when you need him, there's a possibility that he can help you. And I think that that's the best part about this bench. Like, Malik Monk has had a roller coaster ride. He's been really good and he's been really bad. And there is no really in between. And then you got Trey Lyles, who just comes out there every single game and gives you something. And then you got Davion Mitchell, who it doesn't even matter whether he's scoring or not. He now looks like he figured out how to fit in. And so all of these pieces, even Chimezie Metu, Katie said it on the broadcast the other day, he has the best defensive rating on the team. And I was like, really? I look it up, best defensive rating on the team. And I'm like, I don't know how that's possible, but it's a lot about, the switching and all that stuff. And then you add in Kessler, and I think he just gives you another element, the length, the athleticism that you're lacking, and a player who can do all of that while not shying away from shooting the ball, not shying away from going in and mixing it up and grabbing a rebound. And that's what separates him from KZ Okpala or even a guy like Mo Harkless that you had last year, that, the big separation is that he's not afraid to take the shot, has no problems doing it at all. But he also flies in and grabs you a couple of boards every time he's out there. And you're like, okay, like, all of these pieces work together for some reason. And I don't know why, but that's what the NBA is about. It's about chemistry on the court, chemistry off the court, finding common ground. And this team, I think, better than any team since, like, the glory days, especially like the 2001, 2002, 2003 Kings, this team has chemistry on the court where they're starting to move together as one, like, giant unit together.
James, one of the things that really stuck out for whatever, it's not the first time I saw it, but on Saturday I was watching and we saw some of it last week with what this team does on the offensive end. And I think you would appreciate this because you've always been a big fan of that Warriors run and the way they play. It is what you would like to call the beautiful game on the offensive end. The way they pass with each other, the way they move without the basketball. It's different from the Warriors because I thought a lot of the Warriors stuff was initiated with Steph, and it was like, I don't want to say focused on Steph and his movement off the ball and things of that nature. I don't think there's one particular person that there's focus with the Kings, although it's initiated a lot with Sabonis and his dribble handoffs. But the cohesion, the way they move off the ball, the way they move without the basketball. Like you look at some of these guys working to get open and working on the dribble handoffs, the herders and things of that nature. It's beautiful. It looks difficult as hell to defend, and it's special to watch. And I think about the playoffs, and I'm trying to think objectively, like, all right, what is it going to take to stop this offense in the playoffs? And it's hard for me to figure out what it is. I don't really know what you do because of the way this thing is set up and the way they play. Do you have any answers to like how you would, if you were coaching against this team, how you stop them on the defensive end?
I think we've seen little bursts of it throughout the season where teams try to take away Sabonis. They try to double up Sabonis. Send like they shock him. They do whatever they can to, to get the ball out of his hands. That's one way. But the Kings have found out counters to all of it. That's when we started seeing, like, as soon as they start double teaming Sabonis, Harrison Barnes does a back cut and is open at the rim. And we're going to see more and more of these different looks as we get closer to the playoffs. The teams are going to start testing the Kings and trying to figure out different ways. But, like, look, sometimes an offense is just too good, and there's nothing you can do about it. And I think a lot of it is, Jay Triano's ideas with the DHOs and how they're going to have Sabonis orchestrate the entire offense. But I'll also say this, like, there are good offenses out there, but I always feel like when I watch Boston, right, it's either Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown that's killing you. It's never both of them. Now, they both can kill you in one game, but they're not on the court together when they're doing that. And so they take turns like the whole time. And I think a lot of teams, like, think back, even when like the Kings have Rudy Gay and Isaiah Thomas and DeMarcus Cousins, they each had good games, but it was very much like, okay, it's Rudy's turn to score 8 points in a row, or it's DeMarcus's turn to score 5 shots, like take 5 attempts in a row. That's what I think makes this offense so unique, is that sure, players get hot and you keep feeding them every once in a while, but more often than not, it's someone else beating you. It's someone that, like, did not just score the last basket that's putting the next one in. And that's where you really start to, like, be versatile, where no one knows who's going to beat you. And I think that's maybe the beauty of this team. It's that, we know in the fourth quarter it's Fox, but quarters 1 through 3, you have no idea. You have no idea who it is who's going to come in and beat you. And that's really, really dangerous, and it's hard to stop.
I thought that was one of the great things about Saturday's game was fourth quarter Fox wasn't a thing. It was just 4 quarters of Domas. It's just like Domas
well,
was
Monk had a moment where he looked like fourth quarter Fox.
Well, and I mean, and Terrence had his moments as well. But it goes to your point. Different guys are capable of having outbursts. Like, how many different guys have scored 40 for this team? I mean, Malik has scored 40. Was Terrence's 40 against Brooklyn? Was that 40?
34. 33, 34.
Guys are capable of scoring a bunch of points, is the point. And there's a variety of different guys who are capable of scoring a bunch of points, including, guys we had. Kevin Huerter can do it. Yeah. Kevin Huerter's lost in that Bucks game is the ridiculous, because they lost, so it doesn't get, it's not as romantic. Kevin Huerter's fourth quarter in that game was absurd. Just ridiculous. It just took an L on points. That. So it's not going to get remembered the way, some of these other outbursts are.
Almost one of the moments.
About
this year, he was cooking. That was crazy. But also to that point, James, when you speak about it, when I speak about the offense, and when I was thinking about this offense, the thing that keeps coming back to my mind, like, we're watching it from a distance, right? From 1,000 miles away. But I think about, we joked about it, but tongue in cheek, Kevin Durant was so blown away by what he saw. He said, I need to talk about this.
That man was on his podcast talking about Chimezie Metu.
He hadn't done a podcast all year, and they played the Kings. He said, hold on, let's take a second to talk about the Kings. And he, just the way he talked about them, though, like, it was almost like, I don't know what you do to stop these guys. Like, when they're going, and they don't even have to all be going, but if the offense is flowing, I don't know what you do to stop this guy. Like he was talking about it like he had just seen those UFOs that went across the sky on over the weekend in Sacramento. He's like, I don't know what you do. I don't know what this is. And that's a player. That's somebody that's in there involved. And one of the great minds of the game. He's like, man, I don't know what you do with these guys.
Yeah, and I'll point out this too. We've had all of these moments where, someone put up that 7 players, James Tyree says 7 players have scored 30 or more this season. I would like to see what the stat is, how many players have dished out 5 or more assists. Because it feels like that's the other thing that we're missing from every game. Like Sabonis is floating around 10 almost every game, and Fox is quietly getting either between 5 and 7 almost every single night. But Monk comes in and gets them. We had the games where Herter had 8 and 9 assists in a game. Davion Mitchell's had a big game with assists. Trey Lyles has, 3 or 4 assists. We even have games where Chimezie Metu starts getting assists and Keegan Murray starts getting assists. And you're watching this thing happen where, they can have. There was one game where Sabonis finished with 4 assists and they finished with like 32 as a team. There was a game where De'Aaron Fox was out and they had like 38 or 39 assists. And that just speaks again to this sharing, this unselfish play, this, no one taking it on themselves to just go out and try to win a game outside of Fox in the fourth quarter. Besides that, it really is interesting to watch how this team shares the ball so well. And they just keep going. Everyone is doing it. Everyone is bought in. And it doesn't matter. Like if they start doing their little thing where, the guard at the top goes to the right side and sets a screen for the forward in the corner, and he comes out, and then they start making their little S turns at the top. Like all of it, you're watching it flow, and it's always someone different running the same patterns. It's why, again, Kessler Edwards is all of a sudden hoisting up threes, and it's like, what are you doing? It's like, it's in the flow of the offense. I don't fault him. He hasn't taken a bad shot yet that I can see. And so just keep playing in that flow of the offense, and whether it's, a different guy scoring or a different guy assisting, we're seeing a very, very like high level quality basketball that like in reality has the potential to get even better next year, the year after, as these guys really, really meld together and become like a unit, like what we've seen from the Warriors for years, where, no lead is ever safe with the Warriors, ever. Like maybe now it is, especially if they're on the road, but no lead has ever been safe with them. And you can be up 20 and that's like, oh, that's nice. That's fun. We'll see you in the fourth quarter when we're up by 10.
A 1-point lead on the road is insurmountable for Golden State at this point.
Like, I don't
Wild,
know. They get
isn't it?
this one. Izubuki?
I don't know if they'll be able to pull this off. There is no reason that anyone who covers the league should not be bought into this team. Like, think about everything that you just said, James. Think about those stats that James Tyree posted. Think about all the stuff that Will Z posts about this offense. Think about the fact that Domantas Sabonis just got his 3rd Player of the Week award, the first Kings player to ever get 3. There's a legit conversation. He's 4, 5. He's at 6. He really should be at minimum 4 or 5 in the MVP conversation. This is a team everyone should be talking about. And it's not begging for validation. It's not, oh, pay attention to us. It's you've got a goddamn job to do. And it's to talk about the best teams in the association. It's to talk about the top stories in the NBA. And whether Stephen A. likes it or not, or all these little argument shows like it or not, one of the best stories in the NBA is the Sacramento Kings. One of the best teams in the NBA is the Sacramento Kings. Okay. And one of the most exciting teams in the NBA is the Sacramento Kings.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. They've been overlooked every step of the way. And at this point, like, we're
at this point, you've got to acknowledge it's not going away.
Yeah.
Like, okay, we thought they were going to cut, because you mentioned this earlier. People kept waiting for it to end. There's 12 games left. It's not happening.
Well, it's just moved. They can't do that in the playoffs.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
The funny thing, though, like, how many times this season has De'Aaron Fox been nominated for Player of the Week? And Sabonis, so Sabonis has won 3, Fox has won 2. But they've been nominated, like, at least 5 other times each. Like, that's crazy. Even this, like, Sabonis beat out Fox. And, Rasay, De'Aaron's wife, she went out on social media and just, like, she's right. Like, people should never just take for granted what Sabonis is doing right now. What he's doing is, like, incredible. And he's second in the league in win shares. He is a top 5 player in the NBA right now. And people don't want to admit it. He's a top 5 player in the NBA. And he plays almost every single night. I mean, what has he missed? Like 1 or 2 games the entire season, and he's got a broken thumb, and he keeps playing through it, and he gets hit in the head every single game. This last game, I was super worried he may have broke his left hand, like he got it all, and that was a dirty play. Guy just jumping in the way like he's drawing a charge, and caught Sabonis's hand up inside. But like, it's one of those things where you're watching greatness, and it's so workmanlike that it's underappreciated. But my goodness, man, if somebody ever accused the Sabonis of padding stats, they just need to be punched in the face. Like, that's just like what he does. It's just, I don't care. Like, I've watched plenty of guys have 10 assists a game. Like Sabonis, if people hit their shots, would average 12 a game, but they don't hit their shots every time. And it is what like, the guy is that good, and you're watching like greatness on a nightly basis, and it's really fun to watch.
The other thing with him too, when you talk about his assist, is sometimes he is making the pass to make the pass, right? Like, he's making the pass that leads to somebody else's assist with the way he sets things up on the offensive end, man. And I don't want to talk about Joker and in a disrespectful way, because I actually kind of felt bad for Joker the last couple of weeks, because all he did was go out there and play good basketball, and all this stuff around him, like he misses a game-winning shot, and they're like, oh, look at him try to do the same thing JoJo did. Can't do it. This is your MVP. It's like, all right, settle down. Like, Joker is a phenomenal ball player. Like, calm down. So I don't want to pile on the guys. He's actually lost the favorite lead in Vegas.
Did he really?
As Joel.
Wow.
Joel's the favorite.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Jesse, could you look up, is Giannis still in the league or no? He's just not. He's still in the league. Got confirmation Giannis is still in the league. All right.
Yeah, Joe
I guess someone's got to be a favorite.
The betting favorite. But I bring all this up to
they're
say,
hot too. Like it feels like those two teams are going in different directions.
Get the second, or maybe the best record since November 1st. The Kings are like second or third or something like that.
Okay.
I'm talking about the Sixers. But yeah, I say all that to say, people go crazy about Jokic and what he's able to do. Sabonis, and I'm not even going to put a light on it. Sabonis is doing a lot of the same things right here in Sacramento, night in and night out. He is a dominating force in each game that he plays. We see it every night. Dominating force.
I totally agree. And, it's something we talked about this. I wrote an article about this earlier in the season too, that it's not just the assists. So he's averaging 7.2 assists a game, right? He's also averaging 5.6 screen assists per game, which is that other stat that we don't talk about nearly as much, because it's not as, it's a hidden stat. Like, how many, you talk about the hockey assist, but the screen assist is where his screen leads directly to a basket. He leads the league at 5.6 screen assists per game, and his screen assists per game lead to 13.5 points per game. And that's just crazy. Like, 13.5 additional points. So, number one, he's averaging 7 points, 7.2 assists per game. So that's probably, I'm going to say that's leading to like 16 or 17 points. Then you add in those 13 and a half points. So now he's up to 30. Then you add in his 20 points per game. And we're looking at a player who basically accounts for roughly 50 points per game. And that's just wild. Like, his impact on the court. And Jokic is the other guy who does the same thing, who has this massive impact on the court. But even, like, he's not a screen assist guy. He's at like 4 screen assists per game. And so either way, I mean, like, what he's been able to do, the hub of the offense going through him. And the Kings, they've figured out ways to play without him. And I think that's really cool too. And we're starting to see, Mike Brown and Jay Triano start to mix things up. All of a sudden you're seeing Harrison Barnes in that high post, and they're running the ball through him, and they're saying, hey, let's try something new and put Sabonis in the corner just to give Sabonis a breather so he's not getting beat on the whole game. And these games, De'Aaron Fox has this mystical, 3-pointer to beat the Chicago Bulls. The next 2 games, it felt like De'Aaron Fox like almost took off. Like he really didn't have to be that big. So while he's not missing games, you're finding ways to give him a break, which is good, where he doesn't have to shoulder all the load, because all of that load, it will come back to bite you when you get past 82. And so these are ways that like I like to see Fox being able to take it easy for a couple of games and not have to worry about, he's not worried about his points per game. He's not worried about any of that. The only thing he's worrying about is the one column that matters, and that's the win column.
Which, fellas, goes into like where I sit here and I'm like, yo, can this team get better? Because I look at what they've done maybe after the All-Star break. Not that it wasn't this fine, motoring machine before that, but I just look at it with the naked eye, and I just look at the way they move and the way they move with a purpose and a certain understanding. It feels like now they're like starting to get into this groove offensively with how they run the offense, where it's become second nature. Like they were getting used to each other for a lot of the earlier season, and it was working, and they were doing some things. Now it feels like everybody knows exactly what they're supposed to do, when they're supposed to do it, who's doing what. Like, I don't know. I don't know how to explain it, James. I don't know if you're seeing it. Maybe I don't know if you're seeing it. It seems like they're getting even more in tune on the offensive end than they have already been all year, and they're one of the best offenses in the NBA up to this point.
Yeah, I mean, that's what happens. The longer you're together, the better you're going to look. And, or you splinter and you fall apart and everything goes haywire like it has the previous 12 seasons. So this team in particular, like I think that might be the most impressive thing, that they're this good in year one. It's not that they've been building to this. It's that all of a sudden they're this good. And that's something that I don't know how we'll explain after the season, like the tape of it, like how do you go back and dissect it and go, how were they this successful this quickly? I don't know. But they're doing a good job, and a lot of it is buying in. A lot of it is coaching. A lot of it is having a player like Sabonis and players like Fox that draw so much attention. But at the same time, like everyone has to buy into not just making the unselfish cut to clear the lane out and to make things easier for your teammate, but like cutting with purpose. Everything has a purpose, and it feels like this team understands what they're doing, why they're doing it, and they just keep continuing to get better at doing like basic sets that they've been doing all season.
Speaking of getting better, you mentioned them learning, how they can play without Sabonis now. It's a long season. We may forget that wasn't always the case. Used to be screaming coming after these games. Well, you can't have Sabonis and Fox out, or what are they going to? Just everything. I mean, how many times did James have to say, the offense just stops when Sabonis is out? And that's something we talk about, figuring things out headed into the postseason. That's a very important attribute that this team is been able to figure out during the season, because it wasn't always the case.
Yeah, no, I mean, I was more than I thought that they should have made a move at the deadline to go get a center that could complement them and do the things that they needed when Sabonis stepped off the court. It's why I pushed for Mason Plumlee. I thought he was a perfect fit. He knows the offense. There were too many things about Mason Plumlee that made sense. It doesn't matter now. Like, it doesn't, because however they figured things out, maybe it was the fear of the Kings going out and getting somebody else that made Chimezie Metu like figure out things. Maybe it was not the fear of them going out and getting somebody, but the fact that they didn't go out and give someone, and the confidence they gave you by not going out and finding someone else to play your position that helped. Whatever it was, it's very clear that there has been change, and that this team is all of a sudden finding ways to score when Sabonis is out, finding ways to score when both Sabonis and Fox are out. Those are things that they never could do early in the season. And again, we're watching players slowly learn their positions and how they fit. Some players, it came so naturally because a lot of the time they're a big part of what's happening. When you're not a big part of what's happening, especially in the offensive end, sometimes you switch off a little bit. And I think players are now 100% locked in. And again, I honestly think, like, I don't know if their offensive rating will be better than this next season, but if this is a start of something, they easily can get better. And they not only can they get better on the defensive end, they can get better on the offensive end. Just think if this team was really, really good on the defensive end and actually got stops as opposed to watching the ball go through the basket and got in transition and scored more transition buckets. All of a sudden, we're looking at a team scoring 125, 126 a game as opposed to like 122, which is already crazy. But those are ways that this team can get better by just improving, again, on the offensive end, but on the defensive end as well.
Dealing with KC, brought to you by Sky River Casino. Let's step out. We'll come back. We'll talk more about the Sacramento Kings. We'll talk about tonight's game. Matter of fact, James, we should probably talk about the next couple of games tonight and tomorrow as the Kings wrap up this road trip tonight with an opportunity to go 4-0, an opportunity to make it 8 straight road wins. We'll discuss that when we return here on Sacramento Sports Leader, ESPN 1320. I'm gonna grab some water, guys.
Here, you'll appreciate this. I'm on the the DEI team here at Odyssey. We do some things, and just got a message that the Heritage Potluck celebration for our Diversity Month is on April 27th. We want to celebrate and honor the diverse cultural backgrounds of our coworkers. It's from noon to 1.
It's gotta be like that sometimes. I'll show up that day and represent you guys. How about that? I'll wear a D-Lo and Casey shirt.
12 to 1. Yeah. That's a great point. Like, could have been 11 to 1. Could have been 11 to 12. No, 12 to 1. 12 to 1.
You're on the team.
The best part is I don't even get the emails, so I don't even know. I show up every day. I'm like, man, I would not have stopped for lunch if I knew that there was 1,400 pounds of food sitting here, like, for free.
Well, a lot of times, sometimes it's planned. Sometimes it's a freestyle. Sometimes we don't nobody know. They just, guess what? Somebody brought in breakfast.
Well, that one day was crazy. The Cracker Barrel breakfast. Yeah, I don't get any of the invites. I could look in my inbox. Maybe I shouldn't say that. No. I don't get those emails. Whatever email list that's on, I'm not part of that email list.
This was
so when there's free food, I don't get it. It's every time I've had a big lunch, I come in, I'm like,
Russell Hunt, how late did me and Dilo stay on Friday? It wasn't that late. We stayed till like I think it was about 8 o'clock.
No, I stayed until 8.
It must have been
stayed later.
We weren't there that much longer after you left.
All right.
Because we all watched the Lakers game. It started, so it had to be after 7:30. So it was about 8:30 or so at the latest.
All right.
Yeah.
That was fun. Good people out there.
It was a really good time. Really, really good time. I was about to say something. Oh, so like I'm like super like into stadiums, arenas, the buildings of them and all this other stuff. And I just love stadiums and arenas. I love them to death. And I'll watch whatever there is need to be on them. So I'm following this Clippers arena being built. And oh my gosh, this thing is going to be.
It's going to have so many toilets.
Go to One Center is amazing, and it's number 1 in the league. This one, this one's going to be up there.
I think it's probably going to be too big.
Just well, so you know, he makes it small. That's the whole thing with Palmer. He said, I don't want nothing like Staples Center. I'm making it small and intimate. There's not going to be as many decks of skyboxes. I want it to be like a complete fan experience. And that's the whole point of this. It's going to be sick.
He's obsessed with how many toilets are in it. You know what you should do? You should go online, and they have Lego sets where you can build, like you can build Old Trafford where Man U plays. I think you can build like, you might be able to build Fenway. Yeah,
I've seen those.
they're like $400 though.
Yeah, I don't like that much.
They're like 10,000 pieces. Yeah.
I'll stick to YouTube videos about stadiums and arenas. Do that for free. Oh, by the way, and also just got done seeing a great tournament game between Ohio State and UNC.
Oh, damn shame what happened in that game. Damn shame.
Me and Damian, you know, we're usually lockstep on a lot of these things. But whenever I give love to North Carolina, he is not in lockstep with that.
Shame what happened to them Tar Heels. Really, really sad to see them lose.
My girl Deja Kelly got hurt, came back, hit the game-tying shot, and then this young lady from Ohio State hit the game winner with 1.8 seconds.
That was a terrible. I guess you run what you can run. Getting the ball at the
you
rim.
Can't run that.
What
are we doing? What, you got Dwight Howard out there?
Yeah,
what are we doing?
That was a terrible play call.
Jeez.
And I'm not talking trash about UNC because there's a tough one tonight against Colorado. Just
that's what usually
hate to see them lose
on football Sundays when the Raiders lose before the Niners play. I don't say nothing about the Raiders till after the Niners.
Coming back in. D'Lo and KC brought to you by Sky River Casino, Odyssey app, 1320 AM, 98.5 FM, HD2, wherever you are. We appreciate you so much for being with us. We hope that you'll be with us coming up on April 5th for the D'Lo and KC watch party at Fieldhouse American Sports Pub in Sacramento. You want some more information? We're going to be watching the Kings take on Dallas at that game. You could register for the event. Just kind of give us a head count. Completely free. Doesn't cost you a thing. ESPN1320.com. Again, register for the event at ESPN1320.com. But that's our next event for you. We've got a lot of those lined up. We're really excited to finally be out there to be able to hang out with you, James.
We're bringing back the watch party. The watch party is back in Sacramento. Thanks to D'Lo and KC. James, you remember how it was in the early 2000s, Damien?
Well, thanks to the Kings, too, because there ain't been much to watch.
Well, yeah, there's that. I mean, obviously, it's the Kings. We're not having a watch party for the Puke game last year. We're not doing that. But Kings are winning. D'Lo and KC bringing back the watch party. We used to do this big time in Sacramento back in the days. We're bringing it back for y'all.
Is that where you got your picture with Napier? Was that a watch party? James came out. One of my favorite bits from Friday was the mysteriously refilled beer.
Oh man, it was never empty.
James came up to the stage with a Guinness that he was mostly gone, but he drank during the show, and at some point, and I learned how it happened later. I never saw anyone come up on the stage. I never saw James leave. I never saw anything happen. All of a sudden, that empty beer was full, and James had another beer up there on stage.
Well, hell, it was a situation. James, 13 games left. I mean, the Kings, it's a tough road. I mean, what do you see? Well, they're going to have to play defensive. Huh? What? Oh, hey, guys, I'll be right back. I got to go fill up this. So wait, what?
Okay, I did not fill up the beer. Okay, so let me set the stage so we have it straight. I got there early.
That might be my favorite moment in show history. Go ahead.
It's spectacular. So I got there early, and I look over, and I was hanging out, and then there's Kyle. And Kyle just happened to have a beer and another drink of some sort. I'm not sure. He was waiting for food. So I went over and hung out with Kyle, and I'm like, all right, it's St. Patty's Day. I can have a Guinness. So I ordered a Guinness. But on my way down, I drank a gigantic coffee. I stopped and got a cold brew, a caramel something cold brew. Anyway, I got halfway through the Guinness. I'm fine. I'm sitting there hanging out with you guys. We get all of a sudden, I slow played that Guinness through at least an hour of the show. Finally, someone magically fills up my beer. Thanks. It's Coach something.
Coach Molly.
Coach Molly was the one who did it.
So Coach Molly bought the
Yes.
beer. Will
But it was
Z
someone else.
the one who brought the beer up to the stage.
Yes. So I'm sitting there. My beer gets filled up. I get about halfway through that beer. And then D'Lo decides to have the longest segment in the history of segments. I mean, we're talking like an hour and 20 minutes. It felt like an hour and 20 minute segment. I'm sure it was only like 23 minutes, but I'm like, I gotta go. I gotta go number one really bad. And I'm like, I stopped drinking my beer. I'm like sitting there, it's still half full. And you roll through the 3 o'clock hour, and I'm looking at you like, okay, dude, like, when are we ending this thing? We get to like 3:17. I'm sitting there like, back teeth are floating. I've lost control.
3:13. What you doing?
And that's what I was thinking. I was like, 3:13 at the worst. Then I go, okay, maybe he's gonna stop 3:23. No, he blows through 3:23, and I'm like, I got two choices. Either I get up right now and I just flat out walk off stage, or my alternative is on a live show in front of a studio audience, I wet myself right there on the set. And I'm like, I gotta go. So I lean over to you. I'm like, I'll be right back. And you're like, oh, he's going to get another beer. I still had 2/3 of my beer. I set it down on the counter. I wasn't going to get another beer. I walk down the little stairs to the green room, and there's a young lady standing there. I'm like, nearest restroom? She goes, oh, it's not in here.
Yeah, it's not close.
Like, it's not close. I'm like, so here I go, shuffling across the stage, wave at you guys, keep going. Yeah. Yes. It was awesome. Not. So, yeah, I did make it to the restroom, luckily. Yeah, that's the moment. Yep. There you go.
Yeah, that was tremendous. He just taps me on the leg, say,
I'll be right back. And you're like, it's a live show. Like, what?
And I'm looking.
What the hell? Like, no.
Kind of. That was one part. That was one part in the show that I didn't go back to. I wanted to see how the chat reacted to James just getting up and leaving, but I never went back and looked. But it was great for multiple reasons. It was great because of that. Plus, the show was almost over, and everyone was just having a blast. And I don't know how many drinks everyone was into the afternoon, but yeah, I believe as we termed it, the Hampi game. That was certainly an all-timer.
The restroom was a good 150 yards
away.
Away.
It wasn't close. It wasn't close.
Hey, shout out to James Ham for pulling up on us, man. That was not
well. Close. Not only pulling up, not only did he drive all that. Like James spent like 2 hours working with us too. He didn't just come and drink and eat food. Like he spent 2 hours doing the show with us.
Shout out James Ham.
In slightly difficult circumstances, very hot circumstances for sure, but slightly difficult circumstances without being able to hear each other crystal clear. But that was a blast, man. We were certainly thrilled that you were there, and certainly thrilled that Kyle was there, and that was a fun little roundtable discussion. I thought a lot about Kyle's Kansas City Chiefs comp over there.
That was a hell of a take.
Like, yeah, it was. I thought it was awesome. Mm-hmm. Jesse did a great job in the midst of all of that, still getting all of the clips cut, getting everything put out on social media.
Shout out Jesse.
And I was thrilled to see that clip on social media, and it did numbers. I was like, this was good work by Kyle. That makes a lot of sense the way that he laid that out.
I thought it was interesting too, just because of the way that they came out of nowhere, the Chiefs. You know, they were okay the year before with Alex Smith, but like to turn it up with a rookie the way they did, to come out of nowhere and just kind of go crazy. Yeah, it's a good comp.
I don't remember how good that Kansas City Chiefs team was on the road, but I know Sacramento on the road right now is really good. They're looking for their 8th straight win. They're looking to close out this road trip 4-0. It is the first night of a back-to-back. However, it's Utah that is sitting everybody in this game. James, given what we know about Utah's approach, what do you think about tonight's game for Sacramento?
I mean, this is what we envisioned early in the season. I think this is best case scenario, right? It's a team that is somehow still in the playoff race and has no interest in it. They also know that there's a good chance that they're not going to make it, even if they try to push for wins. And, no Jordan Clarkson, no Colin Sexton, no Laurie Markkinen. This is a game that if the Kings are locked in and take serious, not only should they win, but their starter should play 25 to 30 minutes, get a nice little workout in, and then get out, hop on a plane, fly home, stay in your own bed overnight, get ready for tomorrow when you get a real test in the Boston Celtics. And so that's what I think that this game is about. You never know, though. Like people say it's a trap game. Hector says here in the chatty house. Sure, it could be a trap game because these things happen. It's the last game of a 4-game trip. It's a team that you should beat. But this is not the same team that you should have beat like 4 months ago. This is now a team that's looking at the standings and looking at the lottery and all that stuff and deciding to make business decisions. And so I would be very surprised if the Kings actually didn't go in there and just thump this team.
Look, man, anything can happen. We absolutely understand that. But in the words of Quincy McCall in Love and Basketball, I'm so happy I figured out where that came from. Some things just shouldn't happen. All right. Hey, come on, man. Come on. THT, we gonna go off on you tonight? Is it THT, Kelly Olynyk, Walker Kessler, Rudy Gay, Chris Dunn? That's gonna add up to like 130 tonight.
That's wild.
Shouldn't happen, man. Come on, get this win, Kings.
I'm glad Chris Dunn's getting a second chance.
Me too. I thought Chris Dunn was gonna be pretty good.
Yeah, so did I. Kind of missed on that one. Yeah, kind of.
just a little bit.
Just
those
10
days, though. Those 10 days. Yeah.
10 days.
Come on, man. Johnny Juzang. He gonna make his Jazz debut and do work on the Kings. Kings should handle business tonight, man. Absolutely. And like you said, Ham, I would love to see Fox and Sabonis play 28 minutes, and not have to go crazy and be able to rest up a little bit as much as you can with playing the game for their match tomorrow against Boston.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like Mike Brown is still cranking up minutes. Like he wants these guys like battle tested, ready to know that they're going to play 40 minutes a game in the playoffs. So get ready for it now. And we're seeing a lot of minutes played by these guys. So I don't think we still have the Kings haven't announced Trey Lyles or Kevin Huerter, whether they're in or out for tonight. They're both questionable. I'm going to guess they don't play.
Yeah.
Even though it seems like Kevin Huerter is already back on the court shooting and looks like he's really close to a return. This is about like truly looking at two players that have carried a ton of weight throughout the season, and you might choose this moment to give them just a couple of days break, especially if you don't have to play again until Friday. That's pretty huge. So I don't think that they'll play, but maybe I'm wrong. I mean, the Kings have been pretty resilient this season.
What do you think of tomorrow night's game? Boston is a team that's sketchy right now. They've been passed up by Philadelphia in the 2 spot. Philadelphia is playing incredible ball right now. I don't think there's too much to worry about with Boston. I mean, they're still clearly one of the best 3 teams in the league, clearly one of the best 3 teams in the conference. But it's a matchup, and we know how the first one went. Obviously, different time of the season here, different location. What do you think about the Celtics coming in tomorrow night?
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting because that's a game where I think if there's a way that you can not play guys heavy minutes tonight, that Mike Brown will go for it tomorrow. He knows he's got 2 days off before another game, and he might push his players. And let's quiet some of the noise out there that we're really good against, the bad teams. We're solid against, the good teams, and we're okay against the great teams. Like, let's quiet some of that and let's go get a win against one of these teams. Let's make sure that we know going into the playoffs that we can beat a Boston, because they've proven that they can't beat the Bucks. They've had some struggles against Philadelphia, but like those East Coast teams, you need to show that you're part of the mix. And so I expect them to have a good go for it. And like, look, Boston fans are awesome. There will be a sea of green in Golden One no matter what. They'll pay a premium for those tickets. they're always like loud and obnoxious and fun, a lot like Philly fans and everything else. So I expect it to be a great crowd, especially right after St. Patty's Day.
Fun is not how I would describe Celtics
Yeah,
fans.
wouldn't either. The Tappies are the only, and my man Kyle DeYoung. Those are the only good Celtics fans I know.
Okay.
Yeah. Speaking of St. Patty's Day, I was out in. I went to the games on Saturday, the NCAA tournament down at Golden One Center. People wearing green and St. Patty's Day special. Excuse me, that was yesterday. I didn't know it was a weekend.
St. Patrick. Oh, we're stretching this thing into a weekend now.
I didn't know that's what we were doing.
Huh. I didn't either. I didn't get that memo.
Yeah.
St. Patrick's Day was the last of everyone's concerns Friday. They were like, oh, game's on. We're going to drink.
Right. Yeah. It was
I had my Guinness. Yeah.
What would you have had a Guinness anyways?
No, I probably would have gone with something stronger.
Yeah,
okay.
I wouldn't have had a drunk leprechaun.
They probably wouldn't have had a drunk leprechaun. Did anyone order the Lucky Charm with the whip? I think I might have saw one really early in the afternoon.
Did Manny order it?
I don't know. Manny walked in eating cereal out of a bag. He walked in with a bag of cereal, just eating it like he lives the gimmick.
Yeah.
He's like the Undertaker of the Chatty House. Like, you're not going to see him out of character.
That is facts. This Celtics game though, tomorrow night. Not to look past the Jazz game, but I mean, I think there's not a whole lot to talk about. Handle business tonight. Handle business. And you talk about that Celtics game, Damian. It is a national TV game.
Okay, it's an NBA TV game.
Yeah, that's on nationally.
Okay, it's not a national TV game, but I get it. It can be seen nationally, but it's not a national TV game. It's not the same.
How could they not change Friday's game to a national televised game when you got the Suns and the Kings like battling it out for the Western Conference?
Well, I don't think the NBA kind of takes a break on their national TV stuff during the tournament. ESPN has the women's game, so for about 2 weeks there's no TNT or ESPN for the most part.
Gotcha. That's why we have Charles Barkley repeating the same thing every single time he's on TV.
This really is the best. This really is. It's one of the best parts of the tournament because you just get to sit down and listen to Charles just show the world they're going to pay me millions of dollars to discuss something I know nothing about.
He doesn't even know the players
one single time, but they're going to pay me to do it. Then he's telling people they used to have to shower in his uniform when they had back-to-backs. Did you see that clip?
No.
He was telling a story about how he used to have to they basketball players used to have to shower in their uniform. And Kenny was like, wait, what? There's no era that ever you had to shower in your uniform. And Charles like Shaq and the point to the Sharif when Sharif was talking. He stuck with the lie and he refused to give up on it. He said, yeah, we flying it back to back. We have to shower with our uniforms on because how you think we're gonna get them clean? Literally everyone on the panel is calling him a liar, just looking at him like he's nuts. And he stuck with the lie. He just kept going with it. That was how they cleaned uniforms back in the day when they had a back-to-back is you'd have to shower in them. And I guess wash your uniform with soap. I don't know.
Is he talking NBA or college?
Oh yeah. They don't play back-to-backs in college. He was talking NBA.
I mean, if Kenny Smith in Sacramento didn't have to do that, then Charles Barkley in Philadelphia didn't have to. I mean, we're talking about Sacramento where they were broke. Like, if they could have got away with that at that point, I mean, the reason why they didn't cancel the leaky roof game was because they didn't have the $1 million to cancel the game. It was $1 million fine if you had to cancel the game, and they didn't have $1 million. So they're like, Greg Lukenbill's going up there on the rafters on a steel I-beam 80 feet above the ground with no rope to tie a banner up to catch the water.
What could go wrong?
So you didn't have to do that. Like, you could have at least got a rope. Okay, if you were going to go up there, they wouldn't have.
No, I wouldn't have gone up there.
If you're going to go up there, get a damn.
No, what is it? $1 million fine? Hey, man, we had the Kings for what, year, 2? Because I ain't climbing up there.
I ain't climbing up there.
No.
I'm sure in a few years we're gonna be asked to call
We've
league
been like
pass.
shimmying.
No.
Nope.
I mean, I'll hold a bucket. I'll do this. Try to catch it that way. It's gonna be
Yeah, you're holding the bucket on the ground.
on the ground, firmly.
Yeah.
On the ground with no rope. Just on the ground holding the bucket. Like, hey guys, just stay away from me. I'll catch the water. Just time it perfectly.
That's awesome.
Time it perfectly. What do you think, Ham? 4 in a row? A perfect road trip?
Shockingly, yes.
Even against whatever Utah is doing. That just seems incredible. 8 straight road wins.
Wow.
That seems
The
incredible.
crazy thing, this would be, if they win tonight, is win number 23 on the road. And like, I can't even imagine. Last night the Kings put out that this was I think it tied the 3rd most road wins in franchise history, and they still have a bunch of games left.
Yeah.
They still have like 6 road games. So yeah, this is crazy what this team has done, especially on the road.
They've got to be. They are tied for the best road record in the league.
Wow.
Yeah, it's certainly the best in the Western Conference. Yeah.
No, yeah, but that's what I was looking at. The Bucks are 22-13. Philly's 22-12. So I guess technically that's better.
Yeah,
I guess.
yeah. That's
One
better.
less
Boston
loss.
Better.
It's one less loss.
Boston-
It's one less win.
Is
Boston
Boston better? I don't know.
they're 23-14. I don't know. I don't do the math. They have one of the best road records, and they get the job done tonight. They will have the best road record in the NBA.
23-13.
It's
None of those
absolutely
teams played
wild.
tonight. Yeah, it's
Like
Golden State at Houston tonight.
Ooh.
At Houston. Then there's Dallas at Memphis. No Ja Morant. Taylor Jenkins said earlier. Ja did practice. They think he's going to go Wednesday. They're hopeful he's going to go Wednesday. And then Knicks tape. It's the Timberwolves at the Garden tonight.
Handle business, Jalen.
Quick question. The show's essentially over, but just a quick
Oh, Ant-Man got hurt, by the way.
question. Yeah, but I guess it wasn't too bad.
Okay.
So that's a positive. But we mentioned Minnesota. We mentioned all of this. Who he root for? Are we at the point now where we're only watching Memphis and no one else?
Denver.
No,
Okay,
I fully agree. I mean, there's an outside shot you could catch Denver, but it really, like, you're up 6 games with 12 to go on Phoenix.
Yeah, Dallas
the
doesn't
Kings-
matter. None of those
The
teams
Kings
matter.
have to go 6-6, and they'd have to go 12-0 in order to tie. Yeah, so that ain't happening. Someone asked, why is there so many back-to-backs left? It's because the NBA didn't expect the Kings to be good, so they loaded their back-to-backs at the back end of the schedule where they usually lose games. And the Anthony Edwards thing, just really quick to address that, he already took the boot off. De'Aaron Fox pulled the boot off when he had a grade 2 ankle sprain after like 2 days, and he didn't play for 7 weeks. So don't buy that either.